Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guest, we'll take a deep dive into the challenges, topics, and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. I'm delighted to be joined today once more by the amazing Simon Nichols, CEO and founder at Thrive. So, welcome, Simon.
Thank you for having me back.
It's always a pleasure. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the 5 ways of well-being and also give you a bit of a preview of what Simon and his team will be offering at our upcoming UKISUG CONNECT conference. And just before we get into that, Simon, if you could bring back a fashion trend, what would it be?
Every time, every time a curveball. Um, I, some of the stuff that I wear, I think has been through trends. It's gone out of the other side. For me, though, I because I'm a child of the 70s and a little bit of the 80s, and then I was becoming an adult in the 90s. What I loved was those really thick cords, and, you had them in sort of mustard yellow and or just sort of rubbish brown. I didn't wanna use the expletive there, but I loved my cords, and they were a bit baggy as well, and they made you look like one of the kids out of the Famous Five, sort of some sort of ragamuffin running around. But yes, I think if I could bring and I know they've never really gone away, but I don't actually, at this moment, own a pair of thick corded jeans, which means I'm probably going to go and buy some.
That's amazing because I was just saying what one of my lads last week was showing me some of the things he'd ordered online and he had a corduroy shirt and I was thinking it's amazing how these things come back because if you think about it, the 80s especially, there's so many of the 80s trends that are coming back now into the world of fashion. However, I think my kind of purple shell suit that I owned back in the 80s can really stay back there. But yeah, amazing. Well, thank you for that. The first thing that came to my mind was Spencer's. Do you remember them? The black trousers with the coloured stripe down the seam. I
Yes.
think they've now morphed into like tuxedo trousers, but
If nothing else at Connect, I really would like to see a picture of
not
you
happening.
in your shell suit.
I must have one somewhere, but believe me, it ain't coming out. Well, Simon, thanks for that. And so, just moving on to kind of our subject matter in hand today, the 5 ways of well-being. Which we're looking at the, I suppose, 5 actions that are perhaps interconnected and can contribute to a healthier and more balanced life. Where from just to get us started, can you give us an outline of what the 5 ways of well-being are?
Yes, of course. And what I love this year about Connect and the first way to well-being is Connect. Let's not say this. When Craig and I were doing some planning earlier in the year, this one felt really really good. But it's even further than that. So one of the main, I guess, proponents of the 5 ways to wellbeing is, of course, Mind, an amazing mental health charity, support charity, counselling, really dear to my heart, and I know yours. And my son's been and my daughter have both been through counselling with Mind. And what's really incredible is that that's our charity partner at Connect as well. So there's this little tri-way sort of element that's going on here, which is we're working with Mind. We want to promote mental health, especially in the workplace. And when we think about, what a challenge that is, because, we're busy, we're stressed, everything's going on in our lives. But When you think about how we apply those 5 ways of well-being, and you're going to see this all over Connect, there's going to be when we're talking about it in some of the sessions, and you're going to be seeing sort of lots of colorful elements to do with it. It really boils down to these 5 things, or this is what we've encapsulated. And the first one is connect. And when we think about the user group and we think about connecting, and it's like a lot of old friends coming back together, and in so many ways it feels like family. And that's the key thing. When we connect with other people, what we're doing is we're finding our place in the world. We're finding that we where we belong. And it might mean things to different people as well, because some people come to Connect and they just like, well, I'm just going to sit here and listen to the sessions and the streams, and I'm just going to go and sit on my own. So actually, being social does mean different things to different people. But when we think about that first connection, it's about feeling something with other people. And maybe these are the hints and tips that we're doing, and this is taken directly from the Mind website. But what we want to do is, why don't you try and speak to someone new at Connect? Because we all go back to the same old people. Why don't you strike up a conversation with someone new? Even, dare I say it, one of those vendors, in the partners in the partner hall. You have a conversation. You might not want to buy SAP accountancy software, but the people behind the SAP accountancy software are real life, amazing human beings that have got life stories to talk about. And it might be that you just make that additional connection. Ask them how their weekend was. Their weekend was probably be traveling, setting up the stand, but actually ask them. And then when they reply, listen. And I think that's really when we think about Connect, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out something new about someone, and we're actually asking them to give themselves a bit of themselves to you. And you think about how powerful a name is. So if you've just seen Craig Dale or listened to Craig on these podcasts, but you don't know Craig, Craig's never introduced you. He's actually, for most of the time, you have to call him Mr. Dale. But that point at which Craig says, "Call me Craig," you've got a connection. You can go up to Craig, you can shake his hand, you can say hello. Now, I know you do that anyway because you're a consummate connector anyway, but being given permission to do that, and that's what that connection is really about. So, and we're going to be using that to full effect at Connect, asking people to sort of, mingle, talk to people, and really listen to what they've got to say. The other thing we're hoping you're going to do is number 2, which is get active. We're going to be, I know we've got some escalators. We've got some escalators at Connect. They're the famous ones that we travel up and down them. But why don't you walk up them? Why don't you sort of take the back stairs? When we have the breakouts and when we lunchtime, why don't you go for a walk along the canal? Why don't you ask someone to come with you, one of these connections that you've just made, and get outside in the fresh air? Why don't you move about a bit more rather than sit down with your coffee? Why don't you walk around with your coffee? Obviously, health and safety expected. Try and put a lid on it, please. But these things about getting active, what happens? Endorphins. We get endorphins. We've got that connectivity, and actually, we're now getting some fresh air. So the second one is get active. The third, and this is where we're back in the partner hall now again, Craig. Imagine it if you will. And number 3 is take notice and be present and understand what's causing you stress. So if going up and speaking to the SAP accountancy software team is going to give you stress, okay, don't do that. But it's about taking notice of how you feel now, how you might feel in, what might trigger something for you, and actually why you're feeling that way in the first place. You and I have spoken about thoughts, feelings, and behaviors many times now. But if we take notice of how we're feeling, but maybe also take notice of how the general feel of the room is. And now we're on to Sugfest, aren't we? When we walk into that comedy tent, we behave in a certain way. No one goes and sits right at the front, but because we're taking notice, we're being present. If I sit at the front, someone's gonna talk to me. So we do things differently. But this time, again, maybe put yourself out of that comfort zone. Sit in the front row. Enjoy the fact it's only gentle ribbing, but enjoy the fact that people are actually sort of taking notice of you as well. And step 4, and this is the big one for me as well. Learn. Learn something new every single day. Maybe that is as simple as finding something out about your colleagues. Maybe it's about going into a new area of SAP Connect that you've never been in before. Whatever it is, learn something new every day, even if it's a fact or a figure. Keep your mind active. When your mind's active with other things, it's not going to be thinking about all of the other stuff you've got going on. And finally, the fifth way of well-being is give. And this is about being part of a social circle, being part of a community, and people that give of themselves. And you guys know this incredibly because I've never seen an organization work as so hard and as so diligently on behalf of its members as the SAP user group, is you give something back. It makes you happy to see someone else smile. It gives you a sense of well-being and a sense of benefit. So to recap, what we're going to be talking about is connecting, being active, taking notice, learning, and giving. Give back.
Thanks, Simon. I really appreciate that. And just on a couple of those points, actually, connecting is a very interesting one. And as you said, it aligned very nicely with the conference. But those building of positive relationships, it's crucial to everything. I think, is it the Harvard Business School have done the longest ever kind of research or survey into happiness and what makes people happy. And the overwhelming result, and it's never changed over time, it's the quality and amount of relationships that you have. And being able to talk to others, to connect with others, just makes everything so much better in life for you and them. And the active side, we've even thrown in some smoothie bags this year for people to get active and come out of it with a smoothie at the end. So you can pedal, whip up your own smoothie, all the while you're making money for charity. So everybody that makes a smoothie, we are donating X amount to Mind, and then once we hit the £2,000 mark, we'll double it. So as long as overall the conference we make 400 smoothies, we'll double that amount to Mind. So not only keeping active, but doing good things as well for Mind, the charity. And just coming out of that, that lifelong learning, the program at the event and everything that we do and what we do as a community, it just like it aligns so much with UKISUG and who we are and what we do. And on to that point of giving, and that, I suppose giving can bring you a sense of fulfillment and purpose. And, acts of kindness can improve our well-being, as you said, and have a positive impact on others and make them smile. Just on that point, is it about grand gestures, or is it the small positive deeds that give us all a boost?
So I think I'm gonna put this question back to you, and it's not one that I need answering. It's just one that I want you to think about, and maybe all the listeners. I think we've hit like 100,000 listeners now, haven't we, Craig? I think all the amount of people that download this podcast is incredible. W- Think about the time that you felt most happy receiving something. Now, for most of us, it wasn't, the car. It wasn't the really expensive jacket. Yeah, I wore that for a little while, and actually, I've got 4 cars down now. But maybe it was just that smile, or the kiss on the cheek, or hug. Um, there's an individual, and I won't mention his name on this podcast. He will know who I mean, and you may well know who I mean as well, Craig. We've been a little bit. But we had an exchange of emails a little while ago, and this particular individual was struggling a little bit at the time, and I just wrote an email that I felt needed to be written at that time, just to say how incredible this individual was. And I got a text message, a WhatsApp message, a couple of days later, And it was this individual taking a selfie with my email that he'd put on the wall. And do you know what? Even now talking about it, my heart bursts, because some words I said impacted someone so much that they felt that they can put it. So it's not about, you're right, it's not about a grand gesture. It's a check-in. It's a friendly smile. It's, can I help you today? So I think when we talk about giving, it's about the most important commodity any of us have in this life is time. And if I give you some of my time, how important, because I'm not getting that back. And if I give you an hour of my time, do you know how many hours we have in our lifetime? It's so very few, and we fritter it away. We waste so much time. But if you say today, do you know what? An hour of my day, I'm going to go and give something to someone. And that something is my time, whether that's to my grandchildren, my children, my wife, my partner, whatever that looks like. I think just saying something nice to someone, whether you think they need it, I think that's the most positive thing that we can do.
Thank you. And, so right, the time element, you took the time to write that message. And obviously that message was received with so much kind of love and need. It's now up on the wall. And, taking that time to smile, that's a thing. Eye contact, smile. I know apparently we're not allowed to do it on the tube. And I do get some funny looks when I pop down to London and smile at people and say hello or good morning. But that's it's so much taking that time to think about others, to to give that little bit. It's not the grand gestures. It is that element of time that I think you're very right. It's the most kind of valuable thing you can give to anybody.
We know our community, but we don't know yours yet. Why not share the benefits of your UKISUG membership with those who don't know about us? The UKISUG referral scheme rewards you for helping to grow and develop our community. You can check out the link in the description to find out more about how you can get involved. Terms and conditions apply. We hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
And you're a big proponent of the 5 ways of well-being. And how have the principles helped you in your life?
I think fundamentally, and let's go back to the last one, the give. And you and I have known each other now. I think maybe, oh goodness, it might even be 20 years. We've in and around that SAP space, and for a lot of my life, a lot of our relationship has always been on the, I guess, the side of the partner, the side of the we came to connect because we wanted to support the community, but also ultimately we wanted to sort of get some new leads and generate some new revenue. And while I loved my 25, 26 years in that space, in that consulting and SAP arena, the last 4 years have, whilst I've probably worked the hardest, I've earned the least, but I've made an impact. And I didn't used to be so bold as to say that. And we're normally quite self-deprecating, aren't we, in life? But actually, I've been told so many times and so many incidents now where people have gone, do you know what? You really helped. And I think actually I'm now starting to accept that maybe my desire or my ability to support people is my biggest give. So I've decided, not to live the high life, not to have all the fancy hotels and travel around the world as I used to, which I really loved and enjoyed. But ultimately now doing something that is fueled by my passion, the rewards are way beyond anything that monetary can bring. So I think actually by extolling that give for me has completely changed my life.
And I'm guessing that sense of fulfillment has just expanded 100-fold, if not more.
We always felt it was going to be a domino. We always felt, and we've always said this, if we can impact one person, that one person will go on and maybe impact another person or two people, and then the dominoes fall. And we've always said you can't hurt anyone by being kind. You can't upset anyone by being nice. And when you think about why we do that, why do we want to create a world where everyone's happy? Why do we want to create a world where, there's love and enjoyment? Well, actually, that's what we're trying to do, aren't we? We're trying to eke out the best we can for our family, for our friends. And I think, yeah, if we just do that. So whilst all the others, I mean, I love running, I love getting active. I love connecting with people. My network is wide and varied. I think for me, it really just goes back to what can you do for someone else? Because your fulfillment, your empowerment will come from seeing the smile on someone else's face. And I think if we all just went out and sort of did one small act of kindness today, as when you listen to this podcast, just do something nice for someone today. And if that's 100 of you or 1,000 of you or 10,000 of you, wouldn't that be a nice thing to see ripple through society at the moment?
It certainly would today. It certainly would, full stop. And when we look at that, and what other advice would you give someone that perhaps wants to integrate the principles into their life?
Well, this goes back to our probably our base principles as well, and all of them fit into here somehow. It's great. The 5 ways of well-being, the ten ways to happiness. All of them sort of come back to the same essence. Is number one, you need to look after yourself. You need to care for yourself. Self-care is not selfish. And when you think about, well, how does that fit in to what we're doing? Well, if you look after yourself, you can support other people. You can give more. And we have to lead a healthy lifestyle. We have to eat healthily. We have to drink the right amount of water. We have to get active, get some exercise, get those endorphins. Those of you who do regular exercise know when you can't do the regular exercise, oh, you're like a bear with a sore head. So get out there, be part of that, and then get some sleep. And I bang on about this all the time, but it's just the most restorative measure that you can. And how does that help you? Well, it helps you to learn more. You're going to wake up in a different frame of mind. You're going to be taking notice more. You're going to be more willing. I mean, most of us, when we get into that networking, and it's normally day three, isn't it, of the connect. It's like I've got to talk to more people. But actually, if you've had a good night's sleep, you haven't gone too mad at Sugfest, and you can get up the next morning. You feel energized. You feel, and the food at Sugfest is amazing. For those of you who haven't yet booked your ticket, uh, it's just part of that whole healthy lifestyle. People need to think about themselves more. Be selfish, but don't think of self-care as being selfish because you need to take some time for yourself. That's my biggest advice. Just look after yourself first, and then you'll naturally look after others.
Well, thank you. And just on that point as well, we're talking about Connect quite a lot. And, one of the elements we brought in this year, so we've got Will Kintish doing a keynote on the Sunday around, he's a networking expert, if you like, but what he's talking about is how to build relationships and build positive relationships. And I think that just goes so nicely into what we're talking about here and the positivity of connecting and building those relationships. Some of the other elements are that, I believe you're talking in the program with the training manager from Mind as well.
We are. This is a real honor and a privilege. And I had a little planning session with Mike. Mike Jeffries is from Mindburn. And it's wonderful because Mike's just like me. And I hope you won't mind me saying that. We've only met 2 or 3 times, but already that synergy and that connection is actually there. So much so that we sort of said, right, because what we've both been through is we've both been through a journey. And there's nothing that we like, or people like hearing than a story, and a story of how these principles actually helped us get through. So what you're gonna, if you come along to our session on the Monday, I believe, I can't remember the exact time, but I'm sure it's in the program already. You'll be hearing Mike and myself again, going over a little bit of the 5 ways to well-being, but also how they really helped us, how they got us through. And we've both had journeys with depression. And don't worry, it's not going to be a session where we're talking about depression. But in order to understand why they work, you've got to understand how we got on that journey in the first place. So yeah, it's going to be we're going to hopefully not to make anyone cry in the audience, but it's going to be very raw. It's going to be very emotional, but it's going to be ultimately a sense of hope because actually Mike's spent 20 years at Mind helping hundreds, if not thousands, of people, and we're now going to be standing up in front of that stage. Not quite like Ant and Dec, but we are going to be sort of sharing our joint story, and you'll see how some of the overlap and the synergy comes together.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So we've got, your sessions in our community and environment stream on that, and obviously tied in with Mind as well. There's a stand there where you have your presence in the exhibition for people to come along and just sit down and have a chat, have a cuppa, just have a conversation. And we also have the legend that is Matt Champion coming along as well to deliver mindfulness sessions on a morning. And some people might feel a little bit apprehensive about joining those sessions perhaps. And can you give us a bit of an insight into what attendees do and how those sessions work?
So I think what we've got to get around, and this is an interesting one because mindfulness is so core to my survival, but I try to practice mindfulness as often as I can. Matt Champion is simply the most incredible. I did a mindfulness session a couple of years ago at SAP Connect, and obviously now you've got the proper, the leader back. I felt like a poor imitation because Matt just Matt just really embodies what that feeling of being present actually is. And for those of you that have not been to Connect, when you come up onto the well-being, there's and other elements. You get a pair of earphones. Okay. Now in itself, that puts a few people off because some people don't like wearing earphones. But I do urge you. It's not that we don't shout. We're very soft voiced when we do our delivery because we know we don't have to shout. But you just get immersed into it. And I think if I could give anybody any hints and tips about Connect is throw yourself in. Do something, do something that, I mean, I know there's a great term, isn't it? Do something that scares you. We don't want to scare anybody, but do something that's slightly out of your comfort zone. And if you can, and I missed one of Matt's sessions. I didn't book on quick enough. The preparation, I would say, is as soon as you get the app download, book on to Matt Champion's session and mine and Mike's, and make sure you're early because there is only limited seating. And all of the wellbeing sessions that I did last year, and Matt's, sold out. If Craig if Craig had a pound for every earphone we had in the wellbeing sessions, it'd be a very rich man. But yes, book early, get onto the ones. But also some of the other streams, are really booked up really quickly. So I'd say to stop you feeling frustrated, getting stressed, anxiety levels rising because you're trying to smuggle yourself into a session that you didn't book onto, and you're making the people on the front door really awkward by having to let you in because they know they're already at capacity. Book early. Get your anxiety levels down, get your stress levels down, but throw yourself in, be part of it, connect.
Thank you. And that's interesting because with what 3.5 weeks out of Connect, and I say that with the shakes, perhaps it's getting close now. So we everybody preparing for Connect, whether they're a delegate, whether they're an exhibitor, whether they're a speaker, will hopefully be now casting their minds forward to it and thinking, okay, how can I best prepare? How can I be ready? How can I get the most out of the event? So are there any kind of mental health top tips that you could share with us to help the attendees mentally prepare themselves to visit?
I'm going to give you three. Okay. The first one is plan, plan, plan. Okay. Plan your journey, plan your arrival time, plan your preparation, know where your hotel is. The more upfront preparation you can do, there's 6 P's, isn't it? But I'm not going to swear. But something poor planning is, it creates that sort of stress and anxiety. The last thing we need is for you to have more stress and anxiety. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm there on the Sunday, setting up. Last time I think I got a little bit delayed and I didn't have what I needed. And so this year, like you say, I've already, with the fidget toys are in their box already. Everything is the pens, the notepads. I've ordered them all. They're all done ahead of time rather than my normal lastminute.com. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is acquaint yourself with the whole event. And what I mean by that is know how long it takes you to get there from there to your hotel to the event in the first place. Know which doors to use. There's many doors into the ICC. Make sure you got your pass on. Again, it's all about knowing where you're going. When we have an experience of something, we know where to go. But don't be afraid, if it's your first time, don't be afraid to lean on one of your colleagues, lean on someone else. Ask them what the etiquette is. Get into the comedy club queue really, really early. Okay, the comedy club. So again, if you're not in the first 100 people, you don't get in. So it's just about, but that's hidden knowledge, isn't it? Because someone who's coming new won't know that. I've just given you that bit of information. It's just knowing your timings, and then again, and the third one again is really de-stress after the day. You can go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, and then you're going out for the evening, and you're doing this, and you're doing the mingling. Yeah, we love you to be there on that Sunday evening. But if you had a busy day traveling, you've said hello to everyone you need to say hello to, you've had a couple of complimentary drinks, and actually, I just need to go for a walk. I need to de-stress before I get back to the hotel. Know your limits. That's really important. The more you think about yourselves, and again, a lot of people think, oh, I need to be there. I need to be center of everything. If you're feeling a bit rough, a bit down, whatever that looks like, take some time out and then come back when you're re-energized. SAP Connect will still be there for you.
Thank you. And what you say is so right. And one of the big things that I value most of all about our community, and this is the whole, the vibrancy of the SAP community, is that everybody is there not just to help themselves, but to help each other. And that's a key thing. You say, ask somebody. It's you will get positivity in return. People are there and willing to help no matter what. And I think that is the big value that I find of the community. And thank you for that, Simon. And just as we come, I suppose, to the end of our conversation now, is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners before we close?
I guess the thing for me is I'm extremely privileged to be invited onto this podcast time and time again. There's probably people out there going, "Oh, Simon's on another episode." Um, we're we're so proud and privileged to be the neurodiversity and mental health support partner of the UKISUG. I was very delighted the other day. We did a webinar. 2 days ago, around neurodiversity in the workplace. And just before it started, the wonderful Fo said to me, "We really need to plan 2024. So watch this space. We're still here. We're coming back in 2024. There may be some more podcasts that we record, in which case I'll be very grateful. But we're going to be rolling out a whole suite of webinars for you. And I know we're talking about sort of turning up at some of the SIGs and supporting mental health in person, which is just really fantastic from us. So the one thing I want to say, Craig, is thank you for the last 3 years. Thank you for all your support personally, and of course Chris's in this podcast. But we're looking forward to Connect, and we're just looking forward to an amazing 2024 as we maybe start to move out of mentioning the dreaded C word, and maybe sort of getting back to whatever your normal actually is.
Oh, Simon, you're more than welcome, and thank you. I just think what you do is so valuable and has helped so many people in our community over the years. It's been fantastic. And, if there's one good thing that kind of has come out of COVID, it's this. We started this right at the beginning, because I think just before lockdown, I think Helen and I were on the mental health first aiders course. The following week, we were shackled to our homes, and seeing the challenges everybody goes through, and then bringing this element of positivity and support for them, I think has been so valuable to our community. So thank you for that, and for working with us in that regard. And thank you for your insights today. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed our conversation and found it valuable. And don't forget to check out Thrive, there's a link in the description to this podcast. And if you're going to be a Connect, be sure to keep an eye out and join some of Thrive sessions, and also the mindfulness. Come along to the stand. If you do have questions, do not be afraid to ask. Everybody is there to help you. And lastly, please make sure you do subscribe and you don't miss any of our future episodes. So until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and be positive.